The Bible tells us that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimony. So here's my testimony. I grew up in church. As far back as I can remember, I was involved in kids' church, kids' choir. Didn't really seem to matter what day of the week it was, we were in church. But as I got older, I started to question more about who I was and who I was intended to be, who I was created to be, what I was created to be. And the more that I questioned, the more that I heard the world and I didn't hear the word. I started to inventory the things that I liked to do, the things that I enjoyed, and the different social groups that existed. And the one that I found that I fit the most into, I started to shove myself into it, not realizing that I wasn't intended to fit into a box. Anyway, I shoved myself into this box and began to live a homosexual lifestyle. I found myself living that life for over 15 years. Don't get me wrong, throughout those whole 15 years, I still kept going to church. And if you asked me, I would have told you I was a Christian. But as I got older, I found myself in a very serious relationship. We'd been together about 5 or 6 years when we decided that we were going to take a break. Again, I continued going to church. But one thing changed. And that was that I started actually seeking after God. Not just hearing the word, but actually listening to the word. I don't know if you know, but there's a big difference between hearing and listening. Well, that's the lesson that I learned. So I started really seeking after God, and God really showed up, and he started to really make himself real to me. That's the best way that I can describe it. But only a few months into that, the person I had been with and I decided that we were going to get back together. Now, let me be clear. I didn't think that when I started seeking after God that I was going to have to leave my old self behind. I was just letting him take me as I was. So we decided we were going to get back together, but this time it just wasn't as comfortable as it always had been. I realize now that that was because in my transition from hearing the word to listening to the word, my heart started to change. I started to actually accept the truth that people had tried to give me for years. People tried to give me words. People tried to give me the gospel. And I heard it, I just didn't listen to it. So I continued living my lifestyle. Well, anyway, over the next couple of months, I continued to try to push past the discomfort because I loved this person. But one day at my desk at work, I had an encounter with the Lord that I could no longer deny. He stopped me in my tracks and he told me this: if you don't respond today, probably never respond. You'll probably never hear my voice the same way that you do. See, what I realized is that if God could stop me at my desk at work and stop the entire world just to communicate with me, and I couldn't see it for what it was, I would never find him in church. Because that's not where he lives. He lives with me. And if I don't see that, then I've missed it. But he told me that if I didn't respond to his call today, I probably would never hear his voice the same way. See, he talks to me in illustrations, and the illustration that he gave me was that of a leaky faucet. When you hear the drip, drip, drip of that leaky faucet, it usually does one of two things. Either it's going to drive you crazy to the point that you decide that you got to fix that problem, or you'll ignore the drip for so long that you don't even realize that it's still dripping. I decided that I was going to fix the problem. And what that required of me was that I end the relationship that I had been in. Now, don't get me wrong. It didn't seem like very many people around me even understood the decisions that I had to make. And there were a lot of naysayers. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a lot of it from making this video. And that's totally okay. Because at the end of the day, it's not between me and them. It was between me and God. See, a lot of people said it was too easy for you to make that decision. It was so easy. It looks like such an easy transition. And you know what? I used to get mad. Like, what makes you think it's so easy? That was the most difficult decision I ever had to make. But what I realize now is that when I finally made the decision that I was going to follow the Lord, I made the changes in the order that he told me. I allowed him to direct my path. And one of the many blessings that comes with that is this overwhelming outpouring of grace. He allowed me to walk it out with grace. It's not that it's an easy walk, but it's that I'm doing it with him. I say all of that to say this. Your struggle may not be a homosexual lifestyle. Your struggle may not be anything that even I could relate to or understand. But what I can tell you is that the same God that pulled me out of my pit will be the same God that pulls you out of your pit. See, the reason why it's so important that we share our testimony is for two reasons. Number one, me sharing my testimony with you lets you know that if he can do it for me, he can do it for you. He can do it for your kids. He can do it for your family. He can do it for your friends. But the other thing that it does is it is a way that I get to encourage myself in the Lord in recognition of where he brought me from and where I'm standing today. See, it's been over 5 years since I made that decision. And though it's not been easy, it's totally been worth it. I can't think of anything that I'd rather do than to live out my life for the Lord and sharing what he's done for me. Again, it's not easy, but it's worth it. So I urge you, don't put off for tomorrow what you should do today, because tomorrow isn't promised. The gift has been given to you. The difference between hearing and listening is paramount. The difference between seeing the gift and receiving the gift, man, is worlds apart. So I urge you, look in your heart. Don't listen to what the world has to say. Listen to what the Lord has to say. Follow his direction. And I promise you, you won't be mad at where he takes you. I hope this has blessed you. Keep your eyes and ears open for more videos. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Help me to get this testimony across the world. I love you guys.